Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse. I figured we would go live and see if we can't break out here on the Bitcoin dominance, which is, we've talked about this forever. It's an important component of the market cycle, and it is finally potentially happening despite it taking a while. We do find ourselves knocking on the door of a potential higher high on the Bitcoin dominance. So let me let me post this. All right. So, um, we are at 48.9%. If you're new here, and you're not sure why this is important, this is an important level to distinguish between, the sort of the next phase of a theoretical altcoin reckoning. I would argue that we've been in the altcoin reckoning for 15 months now. But if the dominance can break this level here, then I think we've entered into a new stage of it, which is an important step to take. I think nature is healing. And in order to get this level, you might say, well, what is the line in the sand? I'm glad you asked, right? It's 48.93%. I mean, I'd like to see just 49%, right? A clean 49% would look great. But technically speaking, the high on the Bitcoin dominance previously back in July of 2021 was 48.92% on July 28th of 2021. 48.92%. Now, I'm of the opinion that if we can break this, which I think will happen, whether it happens tonight, I don't know. But if we can break above this level, then it's probably lights out for the altcoin market for a while, especially on their Bitcoin pairs. I mean, it's already been lights out for the altcoin market. Who are we kidding? But this could, breaking this level really opens up the altcoin market, I think, to a lot more downside on their Bitcoin pairs, especially. So this is something we have to watch, and you'll see right now we can see that the Bitcoin USD is currently coming in at around 30.3. All right, now last cycle, if you remember, Bitcoin USD pumped until we broke the range high from the bull market. Okay, and back then it was 51%. This time it's 49%. Really 48.92 is the level, and you can see just how difficult it is for us to break above it. It's a very important level. We've knocked on the door of 48.99192, but we have not gone higher. The astute observer may notice that it says 48.97 down here, but I find the dominance to often be fairly glitchy on here. If you actually just look at the candle, and oftentimes, like if you go to say some of the shorter time frame candles, like on the 1 hour chart, you'll notice that the highest it's gone is 48.91. At least on the 1 hour candle. So I don't know why it shows that, but you can see that it actually hasn't gone to 48.97 yet. And the highest I've seen it go so far, I believe, is 48.91. Maybe it briefly hit 9.2, but again, it needs to hit 9.3, 48.93 in order for it to actually be a new local high on the dominance as measured throughout through the bull market phase. Back over here. So I think this is an important level, and we can see that the dominance is starting to show strength. Even when Bitcoin cools off some, it's still slowly moving higher. We are still seeing liquidity drain from the altcoin market. Most of them continue to drain, continue to bleed back to Bitcoin. We just started a new day, and you can see most of the altcoins are already down on their Bitcoin pairs today as well. Solana Bitcoin is up a little bit, But again, I mean, it's meaningless because a lot of these altcoins are just down 80, 90% against Bitcoin. Sometimes they'll have some days where they move up slightly, but they still are generally bleeding back to Bitcoin. And it's just a process of nature as healing. And I think we're going to see it ultimately break out the dominance and continue to go higher. Remember, the thesis that we said is that dominance should go higher no matter the direction of Bitcoin USD. So we've seen it go higher when Bitcoin USD pumps. If we can break 48.93, if we can get to 48.93, then the idea is that whenever Bitcoin USD has a big correction, the altcoin market should still go down against Bitcoin, which is not something that a lot of people have seen, right? You've seen it normally go down when Bitcoin's going up, but if we see dominance go up when Bitcoin USD goes back down, then rest assured, I mean, we're just in a new phase of the cycle that has eluded us so far, but I still think is an eventual outcome here. So we are still consolidating here at 48.89. Bitcoin USD is, I believe, still just sitting at around 30.3K or so. So not a whole lot has happened. If we were to go take a look at, and sorry, my computer is lagging quite a bit, so maybe I won't be able to stay too long. If you go look at things like Ethereum's Bitcoin valuation, we've spent, I don't know how many hours talking about how this is just one massive distribution phase. And I know there's been a lot of critics to that idea, but so far it seems like it's played out with just one lower high after another. I'm sure at some point we'll have another lower high where a lot of people might get excited. But I mean, listen, I mean, so far it's just been one lower high after another. And the Ethereum Bitcoin valuation continues to just slowly bleed back down and is now back down to 0.0625. Now, it is interesting because it seems like we're coming up to a crescendo, and that crescendo is April 12th. We have several big events tomorrow, and I think we'll likely see some type of resolution to some of this stuff. But we have the Shanghai hard fork for Ethereum. We have CPI, and we also have FOMC minutes from the last FOMC meeting by the Federal Reserve. And so, quite a lot of events coming up tomorrow. Depending on where you live, it might already be April 12th. So, but basically tomorrow is, should be a fairly volatile day. It should be a fairly eventful day. A lot of stuff is going on tomorrow. A lot of really uncertain events. We'll see how it shakes out. And we'll see if the dominance can break that 49% level. I hope it just breaks it now. Always a possibility that it could consolidate a little bit more as well. You can see we've had plenty of consolidation phases. We even had this consolidation phase. We talked about this consolidation phase right here and how it's okay if it consolidates for a while. It's not even a bad thing. It allows the us to build out a base, I think, to go higher. But a pretty eventful day tomorrow because we still need to see the dominance break out. And I mean, if it doesn't break out and we just consolidate for a while longer, so be it. But I mean, you can see that above this level, you can see kind of just how quickly we came down to this level. So I think a lot of people forget, but we pretty much came down from 60% to 50% within about a couple of months. Right. I mean, this move here, this rapid deterioration of the Bitcoin dominance back in this was really April of 2021, went from 60% to 50% in about 1 month. Okay, about 1 month. Think about that. I know a lot of people that follow me, they didn't even join. They did not even follow me until after April. But by the way, for the people who say that for the people that call me a Bitcoin maxi, I will remind you, I just said back in January of 2022 that I'm just putting my maxi hat on for a while because we've entered into the phase where I think the altcoin market should just slowly bleed back to Bitcoin. And back over here, I was quite bearish on the Bitcoin dominance, and we talked about the Ethereum tsunami and whatnot. But this is just sort of the path that I think we must take in order to get back to a healthier market where the altcoin market might actually make more sense on a risk-adjusted returns basis, especially when you think about your opportunity cost of putting it into Bitcoin or putting it into the altcoin market. For the last long period of time, basically for the last 15 months, I still have said Bitcoin makes more sense than the altcoin market. Um, and I still think it does, but if the dominance can go up to say that 60% level, then we can start talking about some other stuff. But anyways, as it stands right now, Bitcoin USD is still sitting around 30.3. The dominance is at 48.89. One of the interesting things, as always, that and someone says, "Oh, it's already dumped 90%." I know that, but last time, I've seen alts dump 98% multiple times, right? And there's a big difference between 90% and 98%. Um, but one thing to consider is, and we've talked about this a lot as well, is how Bitcoin has broken out, above its downtrend line, above its November 2020, above the November 2022 high, as you can see this November high right here. But the altcoin market, which is total 3, has been simply unable to do so. So it does still show sustained weakness in the altcoin market. The altcoin market hasn't really gone anywhere since. We came up to this level that we're at right now in January, and essentially it's stalled out here. So I would argue that the movements you've seen in the altcoin market, where some altcoins have moved higher on their USD pairs, is more so an artifact of people just moving around from one altcoin to another, rather than any type of idea that it's any new money coming into the space. I think it's mostly just existing money in the altcoin market sort of bouncing around from one project to another. And that's why you haven't really seen the market cap of the altcoin market change much at all. And in fact, it so far is just another lower high. We are off the December low, but again, we still haven't even made it to the November high, and we're not even close to the August 2022 high. So while Bitcoin rallied on up, and so did the dominance rally with it in kind, the altcoin market is stuck on its USD pivot points, and they continue to bleed on their Bitcoin pairs. This is something that we've talked about for a very long time. The dominance excluding Bitcoin or excluding stable coins is now, I think, around 53% or so. So it is starting to move up quite quickly. And I'll just down here a few minutes to see if we can see it crack that 48.93% level, because that is the line in the sand for us to get above, for us to really take a lot of these altcoins off of their Bitcoin support levels. A lot of them have already lost their Bitcoin support levels. ADA Bitcoin, AVAX Bitcoin, Solana Bitcoin, but there are still some that have held up. BNB Bitcoin has been moving down pretty quickly. And if you look to see where it was from this high right here, BNB Bitcoin is down about 46% or so. So a fairly quick move to the downside, but it still only gets it back to the summer of 2022 levels. Most altcoins are much lower than where they were back then, but some of them have remained a little bit more resilient than others. But again, here we are. We're at 48.89. The dominance is the Bitcoin USD is still at 30.3K, 30,272. And we will see if we can rally on up to get that dominance to just over that 48.93 level. Yeah, I know a lot of people are hoping that the money will flow back into the altcoin market. And listen, look, you could be right? I don't know for sure that it won't happen, but I still think that, whether it happens today or whether it's a week from now or 2 weeks from now, I think we will see the dominance break out, to the upside. I know I'm stubborn, but I think it's an important component of the cycle to see this play out. Joel says, would like your thoughts on alts being oscillators. The oscillator argument for altcoins is only true for some of them. Some of them are just bleeders, and I think you have to respect that. If you have an altcoin and you go check it out on TradingView, just type in your altcoin and then look at its Bitcoin valuation and just look to see what it does over a long period of time. look to see what it does. And does it bleed against Bitcoin or does it bleed against ETH? Normally, I would say does it bleed against ETH, but because I still think we're at the phase where ETH bleeds against Bitcoin, I think you just have to ask yourself, does it bleed against Bitcoin? Because if it bleeds against ETH, it doesn't really matter if the thesis is still that ETH bleeds against Bitcoin. So, I mean, just ask yourself, is it bleeding against Bitcoin at this phase? And if it is, then it is really fighting a difficult battle. So we'll see. We'll see if the dominance can break out. We're still. You can see it's a big battle, right? I mean, there are certainly people out there that don't want to throw in the towel on the altcoin market. I'm sure there are a lot of you that don't want to throw in the towel on it. And I mean, there's currently a quite a big battle going on here with the Bitcoin dominance right at that important level. I mean, it's no secret as to why this is where it's sort of stalling out, and we're kind of hesitating to see, can it break above it or will it not. Again, if you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe, give the video a thumbs up. We do still have the sale on Into the Cryptoverse Premium at intothecryptoverse.com. Would I jump back into the altcoin market if dominance gets to 60%? We'll talk about it. It's going to depend on a lot of things, but I will say, at 60%, the altcoin market does at least become interesting to me. Okay, it becomes interesting. Below, and maybe you don't have, maybe maybe 60%. It doesn't necessarily mean that all altcoins will, haven't already, would not find some value before then. I'm just saying in general, at 60%, that's when the altcoin market would start to become interesting. But so far we're not there. We're still at 48.89. Yeah, I mean, the point really, what I said back in Q1 of 2022 is by consolidating back to Bitcoin, your altcoin positions, the idea is that you can get more altcoins later on with Bitcoin, right? Like you can just sort of ride the Bitcoin position, and it should outperform altcoins no matter what Bitcoin USD does, and it just sort of chops around for a while. And before you know it, a lot of these altcoins are down 80% against Bitcoin, 90% against Bitcoin. So the altcoin position that you would have theoretically had, 15 months ago, had it been converted to Bitcoin at that time, then there's some altcoins that you could literally just take the Bitcoin that you had, the Bitcoin that you got by converting the altcoins back then, you could then use that Bitcoin to rebuy whatever altcoin it is that you traded out of, and you could probably get a lot more of that altcoin, right? Like 2 times the amount, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times the amount of that altcoin just by riding Bitcoin for 18 months or so after its peak. And the peak, of course, was in November of 2022. So it hasn't been 18 months yet, and I think it could extend out until the third quarter as well. But that is the general thesis. And I know I'm stubborn on it, but I do think that if you really take a long look at most altcoins, you will see that they have been in a systematic bleed against Bitcoin over the last 15 months. Now, admittedly, there are some that have done well. There always are. I'm not trying to take anything away from your altcoin if it outperformed, but it's just that it's hard to know. Well, I should say it's hard for me to know which of those altcoins are going to outperform Bitcoin during the bear market, during the recovery year. So I would just prefer to just say to hell with the altcoin market, right? Like my crypto portfolio is basically just going to be Bitcoin, and then just wait, right? Wait for that altcoin market to get chopped up. Wait for the altcoin reckoning to play out. And then once the altcoins are but a shell of their former selves, do you come in and get them, especially on their Bitcoin pairs? I mean, I still think valuing altcoins on their Bitcoin pairs is frankly a lot more important than their USD pairs. Because if you're just looking at their USD pairs, if you hold an altcoin goes up 20%, who cares if Bitcoin went up 50%, right? It doesn't matter. I would say value it on the Bitcoin pair, and then you'll understand, I think, more how the cryptoverse operates. We're still sitting at this important level. Bitcoin USD is at 30.3. The dominance is at 40.90. We, of course, still need to see it get to 48.93. Ideal. I've rounded up, right? 49% would be ideal, but you can see the reason why it stalled out right here is, again, this is where the local high was back from the summer of 2021. Okay. And the summer of 2021, you guys remember what happened, right? Bitcoin rallied back up out of its summer lull, which we talked about, right? We talked about the summer lull ahead of time, a 3 to 6 month break in the bull market. Um, and then the altcoin market outperformed Bitcoin after that. So I'm saying I think there's a higher likelihood that Bitcoin will continue to outperform the altcoin market, whether Bitcoin USD goes up or down, is the point that I'm continuing to make. I think that's the most likely outcome. Someone says it's looking pretty dubious around this level. Yeah, you're right. I mean, it is a difficult level to look at because this is where it was rejected back over here. It's where it was rejected, a little bit below it right here and right here as well. So it's a very critical level, the level that we're at right now. Make no mistake about it. If we can surpass it, then I think it marks an evolution of the market cycle. We're certainly going into a different phase if we can push higher, which is what I think. How fast can the dominance move? Yeah, if it breaks out, it can move really quickly. Even if you look back at weekly candles of the dominance, you'll see just how quickly it can sometimes move, right? Like this move right here, we started the week off of March 13th with the dominance at 43.63%. And then by the end of the week, we were at 47.48%. So we essentially moved up like 4% on the Bitcoin dominance in a single week. So it can move quickly. When the support levels are broken on the altcoin Bitcoin pairs, it can of course move relatively quickly. It just, you have to get to that point, right? And we're still sitting just below that critical level. Someone says, regarding alts bleeding and based on your previous cycle experience, is this the worst denial phase or every cycle people react in the same way? Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves, right? It hasn't happened yet, and so we'll see. But to me, it doesn't really seem like it's any different than what we've previously seen. I think the time frame to get to this point, it was certainly longer than it was last time, but we've still made it to this level. What do I think will happen with the CPI report tomorrow? I don't really know. The consensus is, for headline, I believe is like what, 5.2 or something. The consensus is pretty low for headline, but I think consensus for I'm not even gonna pull it up. I think consensus for core is actually near where it was last month. So look, I don't know. I would say headline's probably going to come in a good bit below where it was last month. Because if you think about like the geopolitical event that was going on last time, it led to pretty high inflation in the short term just because of inflation expectations went up quite a bit. And so I would say I think I think headline inflation is probably going to come in pretty low. With core inflation, I don't really know because services, some of that stuff like services and whatnot can stay sticky for a long time just as the consumer stays strong. So I don't really know what my opinion is about core. I do think headline inflation is coming down, and I think we're more likely to see continued rapid disinflation in the latter half of this year than we are to see like hyperinflation. I think the Fed is sort of they're slowly achieving their objective of sort of reducing demand. It's taking a long time, right? Because it's hard to slow down an economy, like the one we have, but it does eventually slow down. If you think back, it takes about a year after the first interest rate hike, after an interest rate hike to really feel it throughout the entire economy. And we are coming. I mean, we're already more than a year out after the first rate hike from 2022, which was in March. But the further we go, the more and more we're going to feel the effects of the rate hikes from 2022, and they should start to have more of a material effect. But yeah, I mean, I don't really know. I mean, everyone likes to predict CPI. I have no idea. If I had to guess, I would say headline's going to come in a lot lower than it was last month, and core is probably going to come in maybe around where it was last month, or hopefully slightly lower. Hopefully, I mean, I would like to see it come back down. I don't want us to live in an inflationary decade. I would prefer inflation to come back down for us to deal with the issue now, so that so the next year it's not as big of an issue. Now, whenever the Fed pivots, we're going to have to watch closely to see if inflation comes back. But I'm guessing, I'm hoping that that they do enough to sort of get it out, but we'll see. I mean, history shows us that like in the 40s and the 70s, it is very difficult to get rid of once we get into an inflationary cycle. Someone asked, what does Bitcoin dominance mean? It means it basically means it's the market cap of Bitcoin divided by the market cap of the entire asset class. Do I still draw a house on the chart? Ben, we get that alts bleed against Bitcoin. What's next? I mean, it's hard to talk about what's next until we get to that point of breaking into this level, into this region with a dominance. So once we get into this region, we'll talk about what's next. Did you buy below 20K? Yes. Look, guys, I've said this 1,000 times, right? I mean, everyone wants to time the bottom exactly. Everyone wants to time the top exactly. But I've said many, many times, all I do is DCAN according to the risk levels. That's all I do. That's all I've really ever done, at least publicly on the channel. I mean, back in cycles ago, I didn't have a risk level to look at, but that's all I've done is just DCAN at low risk levels and just wait. I mean, that's all you can really do. I have not bought a single altcoin in like 16 months. Okay, I haven't bought any altcoin, I haven't bought any ETH in like 16 months. And again, the reason is because if you're gonna put $1 into crypto, if you're gonna put $1 into crypto and you think the dominance is gonna go higher, which is the conviction that I hold, what's the point of putting it in alts, right? I mean, what's the point? Yes, some alts are gonna go up, but it's hard to know which ones they are. And by the way, I mean, for everyone who sort of messages me and says, well, this altcoin that has a $10 million market cap went up 5x last week. Like, I'm not talking about that sort of stuff. I don't play in the micro cap game. So when I talk about this stuff, I'm not really referencing that. Those projects have very little liquidity. So I mean, I feel like any type of real money is not cashing out 5x moves or 10x moves on a lot of the altcoins that only have 10 million market cap. But that's just not really the game that I play. I mean, I don't make any apologies for it. I don't talk about microcaps on the channel. It's not my style. Most people get burned on microcaps. Everyone loves them when they're going up. Everyone hates them the minute the founder rugs everyone. And so I'm not getting into the microcap game. So yes, I understand that some people made some money on some microcaps. Congratulations. But when I talk about Bitcoin and the Bitcoin dominance, I'm referring to how is Bitcoin performing with respect to the altcoin market that actually has a sizable share of market cap. So we're at 48.91. why value your portfolio in Satoshis? I think the reason, and by the way, we're at 48.92 now. I think the reason is because you'll slowly see a lot of the altcoin market just sort of bleed away. So like imagine if you had put $1,000 into Bitcoin in like in 2015 and $1,000 into Litecoin in 2015, you probably would be up on your USD valuations on both, but you'd be up on Bitcoin a lot more because the Litecoin Bitcoin valuation has bled. Like the valuation of Litecoin against Bitcoin has fallen a lot since then. So that's the reason. You have to think about what is your opportunity cost of buying an altcoin. All right, we are at 48.92. So I mean, this is the level that we hit back in the summer of 2021. So if we hit 9.3, then we're at a new high. Going, I mean, this would be the if we can hit it, if we can hit 9.3, then that'll be the highest level we've hit since May. Oh, there it is. We just hit it. It flashed for a second there, and then it immediately got sold back down, or came back down. But we did hit 9.3 for a very brief second right there. Again, this is a pretty big battle zone for the Bitcoin dominance as it tries to shake a majority of the altcoins off of their Bitcoin support levels. You can see that the altcoin market is bleeding here. Total 3 is down. Again, it hasn't gone anywhere for months. Since January, the market cap of Total 3 has been right around this level. So again, the increase in USD valuation of a lot of the altcoins is just a rotation of money from one altcoin to another rather than any new money coming into the space. At least that's my opinion. I think it's supported by a lot of the by the dominance. Here you can see we just hit 48.93 again. So this was the argument, right? That we would hit 48.93, that we would take out this high here. And so then the question ultimately becomes, whenever Bitcoin USD corrects, whether it's tomorrow or a week from now or a month from now, right? The question that you have to ask yourself is, will the dominance continue to go up even when Bitcoin USD falls back in? Okay, so whenever Bitcoin comes back down, will the dominance continue to go back up? That's what you have to ask yourself. I'm of the opinion that it will. Okay, so I'm of the opinion that it's, the dominance will go up at this, even when Bitcoin corrects, which would sort of be an evolution of the market cycle to a new regime. But here we are. I mean, we're at 48.93. This is higher than where we ever were in the bull, back over here in the 2021 bull market. Again, you can see the highest we went was 48.92. It was higher than back over here in June of 2022. It was higher than October of 2021. It was higher than June of 2021 and in May of 2021. So the dominance is starting to break out here. And if we were to go take a look at ETH Bitcoin, what do you see? Right? It's now at 0.624. So it's been showing a lot of weakness. Now we do have a pretty big event tomorrow for Ethereum, but we'll see what happens. I mean, everyone asks me like, well, what's going to happen with the Shanghai hard fork, and will the unlock of ETH make a big difference? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure the narrative is going to be whatever. If the price goes up, people are going to say, oh, well, it didn't really matter. If the price goes down, people say, well, what'd you expect, right? A lot of ETH was unlocked. But I mean, the reality is it's probably going to be more so due to other factors, right? It could be more so due to macro factors or regulatory factors or something that has nothing to do with that. Okay, so I don't, I'm not really sure how much weight you can put into that, but and we'll see tomorrow, right? It's only a day away. Yeah, let's see. The by the way, the blue chip dominance, the Bitcoin and ETH dominance has already broken out, right? Days ago. The blue chip dominance already broke out. And if you look at that, I mean, like It's 85%, my friends, right? I mean, the blue chip dominance, 85% is normally where we go. 85 here in July of 2017, 85 here in December of 2020, maybe 85% again in, I don't know, October, November, December of 2024, something like that. This is the Bitcoin and Ethereum dominance. Okay, so it's not just Bitcoin, it's Bitcoin and ETH. And the ETH dominance is at 19% already. But I think the ETH dominance is likely going to come back down some. Um, I suspect that you're going to see the Ethereum dominance fall back this way for a bit. But I also think that Bitcoin dominance will go up quicker than ETH dominance falls. Someone says it just hit 17 rating in chess for the first time. Congratulations. That's a big milestone. So should we wrap it up there? We already broke above. I mean, we already hit 48.93, so I don't really know what we're watching now. We already hit the level that we said needs to be hit. So now it's just a waiting game. So why don't we just wrap it up? I don't really have anything else to say. I don't know that a Bitcoin's going to make any substantial movements in the immediate future. So watch it make an immediate move right when I log off. But I think we probably should wrap it up. Yeah, because I need to make another video tonight for the premium stuff. So yeah, why don't we go ahead and wrap it up there? Again, make sure you guys subscribe, give the video a thumbs up, and we do have the sale Into the Cryptoverse Premium at intothecryptoverse.com. A lot of stuff, by the way, on the website. I know I don't really talk about it. I don't really talk about the details of it a whole lot, but we actually have quite a bit of stuff on there. Anyways, I will see you guys next time. Bye.